Yeah, which is fine because there's no good nation, but also at the same time, it's like, if you don't tell us this, we'll believe something way fucking worse.
Yep.
I just can't wait for the Super Bowl, though.
Welcome back, everybody, to a very satisfactory video of the Careful Boys, which is totally an OTR. It's not off the record. Okay, regardless, what you want. And we're going to talk about something a little bit pressing in the nation today. We're going to talk about them illegal immigrants situation crossing the border into America and how we feel about it.
Wait, OTR style or article style?
OTR style. I
So this
literally
is an
said that
article.
like twice. Can you guys stop it,
You
bro?
presented it like
So it's funny because like I always get reminded to myself that like as much as we hate it and it's like, you know, there's a lot of negatives that come from it. If Philippines shared that border with Texas, they'd be jumping that shit too.
I'm okay.
A lot of people would be.
And then I would feel completely different. So
I'm
it's
getting-
like hard to say, you know.
I'm getting hella
Yeah.
content right now that tells me like why it's bad, why we don't want it, whatever, right? But I'm not hearing the counter of why we should let people in, why it's okay, why we can support. Like I don't understand what the argument is for allowing it,
Well, it's on the Statue of Liberty, dude. You got to give me all your weary travelers and shit.
which is probably more manageable when it was a couple 100,000 versus millions.
I'll tell you the most common argument.
Okay, what is it?
They'll say, well, this is stolen land anyway.
Yeah, it was stolen like ages ago, but they've created rules and laws, and now it's like there's a system that people have to follow now. So
I talked to someone that's a certified, stamped, double confirmed, left believer, and he sent me a bunch of and he sent me a bunch of articles. And what he said is, it's because illegal immigrants pay their taxes more than legal immigrants. So when you bring these people in, they actually help fund the way the government needs to operate.
illegal
that true?
immigrants pay taxes?
That's what I was like, that's fucking bullshit. And that's like, you know, when,
I don't know any illegal immigrant that filed for taxes.
exactly.
I actually know illegal immigrants from Asia and, you know, Mexico, and a lot of, I mean, maybe if they're saying like if they get fake papers and then they get their paycheck, right?
Yeah.
Then it's paid. Okay, payroll tax or whatever, not payroll tax, income tax. Fine, that makes sense. But if you're a contractor, if you own a business, everything is done in cash and there is no reporting.
Yeah.
So I was like, what the fuck?
But that's what he said is their biggest argument.
They always say is the funniest thing too. They always go, they pay taxes more than Americans do, and
Exactly.
I'm like, first of all,
How's that even-
why do you gotta shit on us?
But how's that even possible? Like statistically, right? If there's 300 million
Yeah.
U.S. citizens, that's like written in, like when they do the census, yes, there's 5 people in this house, right? Like, and if there's only like less than 10 million immigrants, even though that's a big like number, I'm probably overshooting how many illegal immigrants there are.
Yeah.
How is that even numerically even possible?
Yeah.
Even if it's true, like I almost want to say, who gives a shit? Because it's like, if you want to be here, you have to come here legally. That's always been the deal
That's the weirdest thing.
to me. So I always zoom out of this argument and I just go back to like, if you want to be here, you have to do it. Like you have to follow the law. And people always do this thing where they're like, yeah, but if you know we're tearing them away from their families and shit like that. I'm like, dude, if I commit a crime, guess what happens? I don't get to see my wife. I go to fucking jail. That's what happens.
Yeah, the weirdest
Same
part
idea.
to me is like the logic part, right? I'm like, so this person is coming into the country and they like lift up the fucking border and you walk through it. Then I'm like, then don't put me through TSA. Like when I come back in, why am I a citizen? I'm getting punished and I have to go through customs. I have to wait in line. Why do they have to check my bags? Like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, this guy, it's like, come on in. This fool doesn't have to go through TSA. This guy could have a fucking grenade in his butthole and shit, and I'm getting fucking hassled for my creatine. I'm like, what the fuck?
And they got, in New York right now, they're giving visas to these illegals who are coming in, right? So you're getting money. You're like a Visa card.
Oh, you mean like a credit card?
A debit card.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
prepaid
okay,
credit card,
okay,
exactly.
okay.
And but I'm like, what about like a homeless veteran? Like, and to me, it's not like either or. It's just why can't we prioritize the people who are here, who like did things, who are citizens?
Yeah.
So I guess like this is kind of fresh in my memory because Hannah had to recently do everything legally to get her permanent residency in the States, right? So I was thinking about this and I was like, well, when people follow the law, you're telling those people that you're actually now getting punished for following the law. Because if people can walk in and work immediately, Hannah was like, I want to start working on projects, I want to start doing all these things, but you technically cannot work unless you have a visa here. So if other people are allowed to do it illegally and they're not getting punished, they're actually punishing those who follow the law. And then she's like, I want a side income, I want to do this or whatever, but if it's illegal, then I'm not going to even bother because it could jeopardize my ability to get a citizenship.
Right.
So what about all the people who's playing by the rules? They're actually being punished for following it.
My buddy's stuck in the UK right now because of his visa. He's got a visa issue. It's the same shit.
Yeah, and why doesn't he just go to Mexico and walk right across? If they're not even gonna kick him out and like, you know?
Yeah.
So
And to me, look, it's fucked. Like, the situation is fucked as far as, like, trying to get a visa and all that stuff. It's all fucked. It sucks. It takes forever.
Yeah.
Like, I wish all that was much smoother, but we all know that government doesn't do things very well.
Yeah, and that's why it's like a part of me is like a hater in the sense that I've had throughout my life so many family and friends pay a lot of money to hopefully get in, and then they either get scammed, it amounts to nothing, they still get rejected. They have lifetime bans because they overstayed when they were working here and then went back still. And it's like, a part of me is a hater where like, damn, it's so easy for these guys to just walk in, you know?
yeah, they don't even have to get interrogated. They don't have to do all the stressful things that people who follow the rules have to do.
And then, yeah, when it comes to Asia, they're like, no, sorry, only your best and brightest, please. Right. It's like, fuck.
I do feel a little bit like, maybe it's just me, but like, you know, like when you were in school or in class or something like that, and it's like people like cheating on an exam if you like studied for it. It's like, I never got mad at the person who was cheating. You always are just kind of like, what's up with the fucking system or the teacher? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
Same thing. It's like the people who
I'm
are
actually
illegal
not
immigrants.
mad at
I'm not
any
like,
of the illegal immigrants.
why'd you cross? Because if the
everyone
system is
wants a
there,
better life.
I would do the same shit.
Yeah.
Are you mad at that one guy, though? That's like, you don't know who I am, but you will find out who I am.
That shit was
He
gangster.
fucking found out who he was, and it's like, holy shit, this guy.
Yeah, doesn't he have links to terrorist groups and stuff? And he's like a hardcore.
Yes.
Yeah.
At first, I just thought he was like gonna go make a name for himself and rock and roll.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah, I thought he was trying to be like a rapper.
I was like on his side.
Yeah, I was like, good for you.
That was fucking gangster when he said that. I was like,
One day you will see me with
He's
gold
like,
chain.
you're not smart enough to know who I am. It's like,
That was
fuck, dude, this guy's Batman has to come after him.
but even like that article we just did, where there's the guy that came and doesn't speak the language. I'm like, when you do have people that come that don't know the language, the customs or whatever, it is gonna wreak havoc on our current infrastructure.
The misunderstandings.
Yeah. Like even if someone drives on a different side of the road and then they come here and they don't know, it's just a lot of things that like, I think there's a reason why there's a process where you have to come in and you kind of get acclimated to a certain, you know, like a way of living. And if you have people, and we've seen all the footage from the borders, it's like from every single country you could think of, and then now you have like all these people come in, like how is our hospitals or even restaurants, you know, how are we going to be able to support such a huge influx in population? It's just, it's
What I don't understand is like we actually have a really good integration system. It's been proven, right? All of us are kind of like proof of that. An example is Vietnamese refugees, right? When there were several different integration camps in the States where you get processed there, you get interviewed, and then a lot of the churches worked in hand in hand with the government, and they would sponsor different families. But in the camp, while you were waiting for your process to find a family to get sponsored by or whatever, they would teach you skills. They would teach you like, you know, doing different types of jobs or whatever. So when you're ready to transfer out, you can immediately be a part of the system, work, go to school. They would have English classes and all that stuff. So I'm like, why can't we have that? Like, if we're gonna let people in, why can't we have a system where they first go into like education program or whatever,
Yeah.
and it's like, all right, we're gonna teach you about America. This is how it works, because they had
Right.
they had that in
That's
every
true.
single like
And
recent
step one.
refugee thing.
And step one, that was legal still too.
Yeah, that was legal.
Yeah.
That was
Like we're getting right off the wrong foot already.
Yeah.
It's just like it's weird to hear someone go, "We need to make illegal immigration legal." It's like what the fuck?
I
That's
thought
fucking
it's
a weird
crazy.
sentence.
Not to brag, I'm a world traveler, been all over the fucking world, nowhere I haven't been. But when I'm there, they always want to know the same thing. Who are you and what are you doing here? Like, they want to know what you're doing.
That's why you should say, "You're not smart enough to know who I am."
You will know. And they're like, denied. You know, like, yeah.
he's weird. Denied.
denied. And that happens. I know nobody who got denied because he was, they had him on some kind of list or whatever. So he had to turn around and fly back home.
I mean, like, to me, I think most people just want a job, right? They just want to earn, but in every group that comes over, there are also people who are running away from persecution, whether it be from crimes committed in their own country or whatever. You know, so how do you filter that out? Because even when it was legal, like let's say when Cubans, I mean, this is the story of the good Tony Montana, right? Like, and there's every example of an immigrant group coming in, and then so does their organized crime. So like how even when it was filtered, even if it was like done legally, it still falls through the cracks.
Yeah, it still
so
does,
now
yeah.
if it's illegal, it's like that's even crazier.
And it goes both ways. Like people commit crimes here and run to Mexico.
Hell yeah, dude.
So it's like you need to check both sides, both.
And it shouldn't be easy either way.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of times too, not to get too woke on your asses, but these people get exploited by our system too. Like, you know, paid under the table, paid low wages, but in their country that's considered amazing wages, so they're like, fuck it, I don't care.
That's why I'm for illegal immigration.
We're sweatshopping,
Yeah.
basically.
Oh, for sure.
I could pay somebody $3 an hour, and then every single time they complain or want to go to the bathroom, I'll just be like, I'll send you back. I'll call the. I'll call.
It's like what happens to parolees too.
Yep.
Like you got parolees who are working a job, and they're like, "Hey, dude, you kick back some funds to me, or else I'll call your fucking parole officer." You know what I mean?
But that's the funny double standard that we have, where like that's looked at as charity when you hire like an illegal immigrant to like work in your kitchen. But then if you're like buying Shein, it's like, oh, you sweatshop supporter.
Right.
You know, it's like, okay, I get it. It's like, but we're also still domestically doing that shit.
Right. So we're hypocrites as fuck.
Yeah, so how do you guys feel about the current situation with like Texas and
That's the part that's extra weird.
I
It's
think that's
crazy.
Hilarious.
Why is there an argument on the other side of that? Because if they want to secure the border, I thought that was common sense.
I also think that we have case studies, right? Like all the states that are like, we're a sanctuary state, come on. Like literally the next month, we can't fucking handle this shit fucking anymore. Stop this
That's
shit.
what New York started saying.
Those supercuts are hilarious. When you see like the mayor being like, "You're welcome, you come here," and then she's like, "We can't thank you."
He's like, he's like, we simply do not have the resources. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how come those motherfuckers, you guys should have been jumping in. Yeah, yes, Texas, help secure the border. But like, I don't know what the real reasoning is.
Kamala Harris during the campaign show being like, "Come on in, it's all good," and then after she gets in the vice president, she's like, "Don't come." Did you see that bit?
Yeah.
Yep. Don't come.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think of
Yeah.
the Matt? Or it's not Matt Kim's theory, but he did share it. How like bringing in all these illegal immigrants and then finally allowing them to vote will be a way to keep Dems in power.
I mean, yeah, they're losing their voter base over
Because
the
first
years.
gen immigrants are usually Democratic voters.
Unless they come from communist countries, they go super conservative real quick.
Yeah, my parents, like, regardless of where they're at with, like, who's running for whatever, they're always going to vote Republican. And I remember asking them, I was like, why? It's like, because the Republicans that we were able to come into this country. So no matter what,
It's like loyalty
they're
based.
always going to
Well,
be
they're
like
riders,
this.
dude.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa, that's a whole nother level that, like, is actually beyond what I even think is.
So then on the Dem side,
Yeah.
that sentiment.
Yeah, could
Yeah.
be. I just know that we probably hate immigrants, so it sucks.
So what's the state right now? The state is Texas is saying fuck you to Washington D.C. We have our own National Guard.
Yeah.
And then what is Biden's move? Did Biden say
Then that National Guard follows the governor's.
For the context, right? So like Texas put up barbed wire, basically protecting their border, right? Sealing their border. Then the feds come in and cut the razor wire, and they're like, "No, we're opening it back up." And Texas is like, "Why the fuck are you doing this? We're gonna send the National Guard to the border. Plus, it's an election year, so now all of a sudden Texas is doing shit." You gotta love that part too. But yeah, then now here we are, and other states are now sending their National Guard to buttress Texas's National Guard.
Yeah.
As a fuck you.
And then the federal government's like argument is, well, you guys are stopping us from doing our job. You're in the way.
That's their prime argument.
Basically,
just
they're
being-
like the razor wire. Like when they, you know how they have those press
It
conferences.
like sounds
and
like
then
when
they dress-
cops run into FBI.
Yeah.
Well, they're saying it interferes with our ability to.
Yeah, and then they're like, at what way though?
But they're not
It
doing the job.
Exactly.
That's
They're
the
just
whole
like,
point.
you're not doing their jobs. That's why. What job are you doing? And on top of that, how does this obstruct your way? And then they're like, oh, the agents can't get in because of the razor wire. They can't get into the area. And they're like, at what area? They can't explain it. So that's their argument of let us
what
in,
the
open it up.
There's no cogent argument from
There
the
isn't.
top.
No.
It's so weird.
There's an agenda clearly that we're not being told. And I think, okay, so like there's the surface battle that we're seeing, right? The legalities and all that. But I believe that like there's always ulterior motives to why things are illogical.
Yeah, like
So,
the real ROI. What is that?
Yeah,
Right.
taking out all the emotion from this entire situation, like what's the logical
And,
side of it?
Yeah, and I think we kind of touched on this yesterday, but I think with the U.S. and the Western nations no longer having manufacturing and a lot of poverty, we don't have grunt work. We need like, in order for this system to work, we need fresh new immigrants and cheap labor.
I don't think our administration is that selfless in thinking.
No, it's not so much. No.
Like, it makes more sense.
So let me finish my point. Okay, so we need a lot of field and people working in construction and all that, right? How is this group going to be replenished every year? And then I've seen this observation happening in Europe, right? Like in Western nations, when you make money, people don't want to do those jobs anymore because you're living good. You push your kids to become college educated and become a part of the corporate class, right? And so what ends up happening, there's a huge deficit of a group that needs to keep the oils like churning, right? And also there's the birth rate issue. So when you have those two things happening, how do you quickly remedy the situation? And that's why when Merkel was the leader of the UN, she was the one that opened up the floodgates for the refugees to come. Because I was like, why are they letting so many in? It can't just be white guilt. There's no point to that, right? And then it's because Europe was the first to have that issue with the population problem that they need to replenish. So all Western nations are having a birth rate problem, population problem, and that sustains the economy. And I think that's the main reason why that they have to do this, or else it's that what do you call it? That upside down pyramid of
But isn't it also a supply and demand thing where, you know, we talked about HVAC people recently, right? Like, shout out to those guys.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but those guys, they pick if they want to work or not. They make like fucking $200K a year because there's no one doing the fucking jobs, like you said. So it's a supply and demand thing. So now more people are like, maybe I'll do HVAC. You can fucking pave your own way and like set your own hours and like just you can do whatever you want. So I think those construction jobs, you'd see wages raised if we did have control over our immigration situation. Is what I hear argued quite often. Like maybe people who are going to university or whatever, they're like, fuck this. I don't know if I love this. I'll go be a construction worker because it's paying $40 an hour or whatever. Because the wages would increase as demand increases.
And that thought process, that still comes from a person that I think cares, where I don't know if Biden cares. Like, I think it makes way more sense. Wait, I have investments in Ukraine. They're in a fight. I need to go protect my assets. You know, so like the person that thinks like that, it's hard for me to go, oh wait, this guy really cares about the next generation of America. It still feels like very selfless.
No, it's still protecting assets because you need. So humans are the cattle. You need to replenish your stock, or else you're gonna lose money for your.
But it's like 5 degrees of separation.
You mean like generationally different? So it's not immediate.
Yeah, like Ukraine, it's like Biden LLC is literally in Ukraine.
Yeah.
They're bombing my direct asset. And I think like the way at least that we've been seeing how politicians move, or even like, you know, like the Pelosi's and whatever, it's like, it's a direct benefit. I'm only gonna protect things that are directly beneficial to me. And so even needing cattle it seems like 6 degrees or 10 degrees of separation where they receive the benefits. So I don't see the ROI.
Like it's not this cabinet.
And I think
actually don't think-
that's
I
why
don't-
people are mad.
I don't think it's actually Biden or politicians' call when I see these type of moves.
Oh.
I see like,
It's long game.
yeah, there's
It's
so
long
like
game.
military and all these things, right? It's not immediate, it's long game. So they have to play long game. So if you don't have a country that's sustaining the next 10 to 20 years,
okay.
then you're kind of screwed.
Like it's kind of like how Biden's
like it
reign
might be
will
a CIA
over.
like objective. It might be someone else saying, I don't see it as like I don't think Biden's even gonna survive, the next 5 years or whatever.
But then there's corporate families that will be in power 100 years from
Right,
now that
right.
are thinking.
It's like,
this
so
is
how
good
do you?
for us.
Yeah.
I just think people are angry right now because we have a crony capitalist system, obviously. But what if we just like did a couple of basic things right, like actually control the border, so maybe people wouldn't have to compete with people who are getting paid under the table for jobs. Like you could actually see wages increase for once in our fucking lives, right? Like I just think that if like just basic level of shit that like just cover these bases and let's see what happens. Like give the system a shot, but you can't do that when you're thumbing the scale the whole time. That's how people feel, I think.
I really do feel like we haven't yet seen the end of the academic bubble where all these people are going to college for useless degrees. I think we haven't seen the end of that yet, so I do see the need for people to do these jobs because I don't think we're gonna have enough of those.
You're seeing a lot of millennial journalists get fired.
But even
'cause I
if
think
it
we're still
wasn't
getting a
the
fucking ton
blue
of those
collar
dudes.
argument, but just population in general, right? Like if Korea is a clear kind of example of a country that doesn't allow any immigrants, and they're talking about as early as in 30 years they're not going to have a population. That's the future here. If they don't, I guess when they weigh out the two of do you bring in immigrants or not, or do you just let the country kind of die off?
And also, I think the argument too is, it's not really immigrant or not, or like immigration or not immigration. It's actually, there's 3 of them. It's not immigration, legal immigration, and illegal immigration. Because people that have a population decline, they're not just going, come in. I think everyone's for immigration, but how can we do it in the safest way possible?
But is it that they can't do it fast enough?
That's what I'm saying. So because if they actually brought out the rates, right? Like the rate of immigration is too slow because of process. Then like let's troubleshoot the process.
Right.
So that the people that come in don't affect the current citizens.
I see.
Versus like where like the argue point is here, but then like what's the real shit like over here that we're trying to.
So I think the real shit is the thing that can't be debated legally. I think that we need illegal immigration to operate in America. That was the point I'm
Okay,
trying
so
to
that's
make.
the thing that no one can admit, basically.
That's what
interesting.
that's what I mean by like
that it's
we've
never been legal.
We've been operating on low wage and just like before.
Then the thing that the people feel on the ground level is what the states are mandating for, like whether it's a sanctuary state or a state that like believes that they need to protect their borders because they can't handle it with the resources, right? So everything isn't this, because nobody's capable of making this zoomed out grand macro decision for the greater good. Nobody's responsible for that, and they generationally won't even be alive by the time it actually affects them. But they just need to park themselves in a state that aligns with where they feel. Because like we're sitting in California where now people are escaping New York and coming over here because they're gonna get fucking health benefits and shit like that. Kids since 2015 and people 50 years and over now, all illegal immigrants are getting fucking tax paid subsidized health benefits over here.
Healthcare,
But then when that goes too far,
Then they go somewhere else.
us Californians are gonna be like, fuck, we can't do that. You know what I mean?
I understand how I get it now, but the funny thing is I look at it like a pasta strainer where it's like, there's gonna be some good, hardworking, awesome people that get here illegally, cool. But what happens to the people that are scum and now they just stayed in your town? I don't think Texas wants to be that fucking place. That's it. They're just like, we know what's happening, and this is gonna get sifted through it, and we're gonna get the leftovers.
Well, how about the nice people out there who work like 4 fucking jobs? They can barely keep up. They can't even pay their bills, and they're behind in everything. And they just see oh well, these people get to come here and they get free healthcare, and like meanwhile I have hospital bills stacked all the fucking way up. Why do you think people are mad? Also, if you don't tell people what the fuck is going on from the top down, of course they're going to come up with conspiracy theories about what's going on, because how do you backfill this like lack of information? You have hundreds of thousands of people, literally videos of people coming here, and then they walk right up to Border Patrol, get on a bus, and we don't even know where they go. We have people in airports all the time. I've heard directly from people who were like, yeah, I was at an airport and like, there was a bunch of migrants who were there, and they were all given passports, they were all are given tickets, and then they were all given money, and then we don't know where they go. So of course people are gonna backfill it with conspiracy, because you're not telling us what the fuck's going on.
But that's the thing. Like now that you say that, I didn't think about how like they just can't. They just can't say.
That's another part of it too. Is like,
they just
why
can't say,
can't they?
"Well, I'm gonna use these guys."
So then
Like,
people
why
start
can't-
saying invasion, right? They start kicking around that, and like they're all
Sleeper cells.
they're all military-aged men. They're all gonna be a sleeper cell,
And then there's just a racial, what is it called?
undercurrent, yeah, for sure.
There's like an animosity that doesn't need to be there, like an extra hate.
But you're making new hate because, like I said, the people who are behind are seeing them get benefits. Why not me?
If only the people up top could go, no, it's fine. We are nefarious and we need this.
Very evil. We're very, very evil.
Yeah, because you're making
Imagine the time that
the
happens.
citizens hate the immigrants.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then you're also stressing out your own infrastructure. Like, you don't get it. Like, if you want to eat strawberries, some Guatemalans have to get tased by cops. You know, and you're like, what the fuck?
It's the same reason why a Hawaiian person would hate that they flew homeless people to fucking Waikiki. You know, like, you'll just hate those guys. But then they didn't, that wasn't their choice. They just were like, they got pushed. They're like, oh, whatever.
The national security issue is scary, though. Especially with, like, everyone hungry, with bricks and, like, just, like, everyone is on the move to the top. And then when you don't lock your front door, it's like, what the fuck?
It's pretty scary to think that you have someone that's like, literally, I have nothing to lose. I have everything to gain now. And if desperation hits to a point and you have something that they need,
if no one can explain to us why this is a good idea as letting just a ton of people in unchecked, then obviously we're gonna go, well, why is this Chinese company buying this farm? And why are all these undocumented people working there? Is this a military base on our soil? And then I'm like, that kind of sounds more realistic than whatever the government's telling us, because that just sounds crazy.
They're giving
you nothing. And even what we talked about this before about like the food plants that are getting like all of a sudden like arson at food plants all over the fucking place in America.
Cattle just fucking burning up.
So people start connecting all these dots.
On a day where 3 guys were working in a fucking gigantic ass multi-acre
And then they
plant.
recently found the lab, a disease lab here from some Chinese spies and shit, remember?
Yeah.
What?
It was like ran by a fugitive. Yeah, there's a lot of shit
We
going
have our
on.
own Wuhans here. Isn't that cool?
But that's what's funny is that when you ask the government, like, why are you doing this? And they just go, like, I can't tell you. That's what sucks. Yeah.
But I want to, but you're not ready to listen.
Trust us, you're going to love the answer. We can't tell
Also,
you.
we can't pay attention for very
If
long.
they're only that good-hearted too.
I
know, but it's
It's like if they told me like what their real motives were, I'd actually believe it.
Yeah, which is fine because there's no good nation, but also at the same time, it's like, if you don't tell us this, we'll believe something way fucking worse.
Yep.
I just can't wait for the Super Bowl though.